Israel is now waging war on 3 fronts. Pentagon says soldiers are ready in important statement. Iran-backed attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria increase. China says outlook worrisome as conflict spreads in Middle East. Argentina's Peronists to seal runoff with radical Milei. Indonesia's leading presidential hopeful picks Widodo's son to run for VP in 2024 election. Philippines tells China to stop provocative actions in South China Sea. U.S. gasoline prices could sink 9% by year-end despite oil's surge.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Tuesday, October 24th, and here are your top stories. The Israel-Hamas conflict is spilling over into the neighboring countries of Lebanon and Syria as Israel ramps up airstrikes on the 2 Arab states. Hezbollah, a militant group backed by Iran, has been fighting Israeli forces on Lebanon's northern border with Israel. Israel also targeted Damascus and Aleppo international airports in Syria, where Iran maintains a military presence. Israel has been amassing troops and equipment near the border with Gaza ahead of its expected ground invasion of the territory.
Violence has also escalated in the West Bank, with over 90 Palestinians reported to have been killed in the area. Chief of the Israeli General Staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, told troops, "We are going to go into the Gaza Strip to destroy Hamas operatives and Hamas infrastructure." The U.S. has sent more military assets to the region to bolster Israel's forces. Washington will also send more troops and a terminal high-altitude area defense system and additional Patriot air defense missile system battalions to Israel.
The head of the Pentagon, Lloyd Austin, has announced that the U.S. will direct additional air defense systems to the Middle East. Additional American soldiers are also ready for deployment. The Declaration of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin states, after in-depth discussions with President Joe Biden about Iran's recent escalatory actions and its proxy forces throughout the Middle East region, I ordered today a series of additional actions to strengthen our defensive positions in this region.
Austin's statement is in response to recent attacks on American soldiers in the region and the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. U.S. has also sent a THAAD air defense system to the Middle East as well as additional battalions of Patriot air defense systems. In addition, Austin said that additional soldiers have achieved ready-to-deploy status. However, Austin did not disclose how many troops are ready to be deployed. The Pentagon had previously granted such status to about 2,000 soldiers.
Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria continue to increase threats and attacks against U.S. forces. On Sunday, reports said that rockets targeted al-Assad base, which is at least the 6th attack since the October 7th Hamas assault on Israel. The al-Assad air base hosts U.S. and other international forces in western Iraq. On Saturday, defense systems at al-Assad intercepted and shut down 2 drones while they were hovering near the base. 2 Army sources said Katyusha rockets targeted the al-Assad air base on Sunday.
The attacks on U.S. forces began last week with drone attacks on Assad base. In addition, pro-Iran accounts in Iraq published a video claiming that they had targeted Erbil airport in northern Iraq's Kurdistan region. The U.S. forces have a facility at the airport. The pro-Iran proxies have used drones to target the airport. Iran has also targeted the U.S. Tanif garrison in Syria, which is stationed near the Jordanian and Iraq border, as well as other U.S. forces in eastern Syria. Iran also mobilized the Houthis in Yemen to launch drones and missiles last week.
Chinese Middle East Special Envoy Cai Jun described the situation in Gaza as very serious, with the risk of a large-scale ground conflict rising and the spread of armed conflicts along neighboring borders. Cai Jun said spillover effects in the region and internationally are widening as conflict along the Israeli-Lebanese and Israeli-Syrian borders spread, making the outlook worrisome. Cai called on the international community to be highly vigilant in this regard and to take immediate action.
Last week, Cai pinned the cause of the Israel-Gaza crisis on the lack of guarantees for Palestinian rights as he met with his Russian counterpart in Qatar, a go-between in the conflict. Cai said China will continue maintaining close communication with the international community, including the Arab countries, and will next visit the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and other countries in the region to further strengthen coordination aimed at ending the crisis.
Argentina's ruling Peronist coalition smashed expectations to lead the country's general election on Sunday, setting the stage for a polarized runoff vote next month between Economy Minister Sergio Massa and far-right libertarian radical Javier Milei. Massa had 36.6% of the vote, ahead of Milei on just over 30%, while conservative Patricia Bullrich was behind with 23.8%. Nearly 98% of the vote has been counted, resulting in an outcome that defied pre-election polls, which had predicted a libertarian win.
The surprise strength of the Peronists, despite overseeing inflation hitting triple digits for the first time since 1991, sets up an intriguing second round on November 19th between two polar opposite economic models for the embattled country. To win outright on Sunday, a candidate would have needed over 45% of the vote or 40% and a 10-point lead. Election authorities said turnout was around 74%, up from the August primaries, but considerably lower than the 81% participation at the last election.
Indonesia's leading presidential hopeful named outgoing President Joko Widodo's eldest son as his running mate in next year's election in Southeast Asia's largest democracy. The announcement late Sunday by Prabowo Subianto, a former Special Forces general who currently serves as defense minister, said that he had chosen Gibran Raka as his vice presidential candidate, which ended weeks of fever speculation in the Indonesian media.
Gibran, who is 36, serves as mayor of Surakarta, Widodo's hometown in central Java province. He does not meet the 40-year age requirement to run, but the country's constitutional court, headed by the president's brother-in-law, made an exception in a ruling last week. It now allows those who served or had been elected as regional leaders to run at a younger age. The controversial ruling has been widely criticized as nepotistic, with analysts warning it could undermine the democratic process.
The Philippines repeated its call for China to stop provocative actions, warning that its attempts to block Manila's resupply missions to a disputed atoll in South China Sea could have disastrous results. Spokesperson at the National Security Council, Jonathan Malaya, said Monday that China's move to interfere with a resupply mission on Sunday resulted in damage to one of Manila's boats. Manila has summoned the Chinese ambassador and has filed a diplomatic protest.
In the incident early Sunday, China's Coast Guard said there had been a slight collision between one of its ships and the Philippine boat while the Coast Guard was lawfully blocking the boat from transporting illegal construction materials to the warship. The Philippine Coast Guard has yet to evaluate the extent of damage to the supply boat's hull, but its spokesperson, Jay Terriella, said in the same news conference that it was deep and more than a scratch.
The American Automobile Association reported as of last Friday, the national average price in the U.S. for a gallon of gasoline stood at $3.558, down 8% from a 2023 peak reached last month. Gas Body's head of petroleum analysis, Patrick DeHaan, said, "I do think that we're going to make a run at prices that are in the low $3 range by the end of the year." In his view, the current decline is a seasonal norm as cooler temperatures keep Americans inside and markets switch to cheaper winter gasoline blends.
According to AAA and OPIS metrics, citing a ballpark estimate of $3.25 to $3.35 a gallon that represents a drop of up to 9% from current levels, that would put gas prices within striking distance of this year's low of $3.207 a gallon. By contrast, oil prices have surged 10% from an early October low, with Brent crude, the international benchmark, trading around $92 per barrel. But according to Robert Hours of RBN Energy, higher gasoline prices in the second quarter prompted refineries to overproduce, leading to an oversupply.
The answer for yesterday was B, ceasefire. They have agreed to a ceasefire after 3 years of conflict. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of Philippines warning China to stop provocative actions in South China Sea. Number 1, provocative. 挑衅的、挑煽动性的、挑起争端的。He doesn't really mean that. He's just being deliberately provocative. Number 2, disastrous. 极糟糕的、灾难性的、完全失败的。Lowering interest rates could have disastrous consequences for the economy. Number 3, summon. 召唤. In May 1688, he was urgently summoned to London. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I'll see you next time.